Now, here are some mythical animals I think I could fuck up in a fight. First of all, gnome. Absolutely. I would punt that thing into the sun. Kappa. Got to get the water out of the head. Pretty easy one there. Sweep the leg, Johnny. Waterfalls out. Game over. Pixie. It's kind of awful to think about, but a bug assault would fix that problem if a fly swatter couldn't. Harpy. They've got little chicken legs. I really think I could probably just pull them down and hammer throw them, Kratos style. If you've ever played the God of War games, I think I could do that. Cyclops, bit of a tougher challenge. They're slow, but you could probably stay on the outside, duck and weave a little bit. Plus, their weak spot is like right in the middle of their 6 foot wide face. This next one's going to be controversial, but hear me out. Bigfoot. Now, not because I think I'm stronger or have any prowess that the Bigfoot doesn't. Like, if we were locked in a phone booth, Bigfoot would fuck me up, right? But they're basically a big ape, but those dudes are reclusive as hell, and they seem pretty chill. So I feel like they would be doing everything they could to avoid the fight, and maybe get a bit of like a deer in the headlight sort of thing, which would give me some free hits. Like I feel like I could fuck up the leg Liam Harrison style if I got a few free hits in, or the groin. I wouldn't be proud of it, but I would give it my all. And the list of mythical creatures that I couldn't beat in a fight is literally everything else, right? But somewhere near the top of that list is unicorns. And I don't think people think about unicorns and their murderous intent and their fighting ability. But I have often, and because have you ever patted a horse? I get nervous standing in the vicinity of horses because they're basically small buses that are lightning fast with maces for feet and the kicking power of an engine piston. So, like you can't even run from them like you would something like lumbering, like a troll or any of that sort of stuff. But with unicorns, on top of that, you have basically sticky taped a fucking saber to their head. So now it's bad news. You're gonna get cut to ribbons or mashed. Like it's true nightmare scenario, and that is what A24's newest movie, Death of a Unicorn, is about. It's basically how would you go if you were locked in a remote mountain lodge assailed by murderous unicorns. Now, to be fair, in this movie, the unicorns are the slighted party, so there's like a good reason for their retribution. But it would not be a fun time. Like they're truly a fearsome creature. Unlike this movie, which is pretty like it would not be a fun time. Which, unlike this movie, it's a pretty stupid fucking movie. It is a bit of a fun time. But it is pretty stupid. So I think most people are either going to like it or not like it based on the premise. But for me, while I did like quite like the first half of it, like I did like quite a bit of it. There's some good comedy in there. It just could not avoid the speed wobbles or stick the landing. And I feel like when this gets seen by a wider audience, its score's probably going to drop quite a bit because the premise is ridiculous and the comedy is good, but there are some real problems with this movie. Death of a Unicorn stars arguably one of the hottest properties in horror movies currently, and that is Jenna Ortega as disgruntled teen Ridley, remember that because it will come up later, who's on a business trip with her super slimy, career-driven lawyer dad, Elliot. Elliot is played by, at this point, he's almost certainly got some ageless, vampiric, mysterious origin. Paul Rudd. He's like, I think he's almost 60 in this movie, and he looks unreal. He looks better than I do. Elliot has been asked to come to his boss's secluded mansion in the Canadian mountains to secure the future of their company, Leopold Pharmaceuticals. Leopold Pharmaceuticals is a pharmaceutical company that is so cartoonishly evil, you almost believe they're real. On the way there, due to Elliot's obsessive need to be a fuckwit, they hit and kill a unicorn. Picture a unicorn. Any unicorn meter you've ever seen. They absolutely clean one up. That's exactly what it looks like. They absolutely clean it up. It sounds fucked up to say now, but it's one of the better scenes in the movie. As Ridley has a moral backbone and she's quite strong of character, she mourns the loss of this once long thought mythical creature. Unfortunately for her, Elliot has the emotional depth of a teaspoon, and he tries to cover it up, which leads them to find out that it is in fact not the last unicorn. And like most things in mythology, unicorns have terrible fucking tempers, and that's when the movie really heats up. It's a weird one. Now we'll start with the good. The first half of this movie I found to be pretty fucking hilarious. There are some really good, awkward slapstick comedy bits in this movie, and they got good laughs from me and from other people in the theater. One really good one was involving a tiny chair. Actually, there's a lot of solid humor in this movie, sort of in the style of the original Men in Black. So if you do like that, you'll probably like the humor in the first part of this movie, because it comes from like characters trying to wrap their heads around the fact that something they didn't think real is, and it's way more dangerous than they thought. I thought Tia Leone and Will Poulter were really good as these perfectly horrible business types. Like Will Poulter, for sure, really good in this movie. Like really, really good. You want to hate them, but you just sort of love how flat out abhorrent they are. Like they've got no redeeming features, which is kind of awesome. Tia Leone too. This movie references Jurassic Park a lot, and she's been in a Jurassic Park movie, so she's basically doing her character turned up to like 12. Jenna Ortega's fine. She plays like this left-wing rebellious daughter in like this obviously right-wing business-centric family. But my standout, like best on, 100% was Anthony Carrigan for me, and he plays the manservant Griff. If you've seen Barry, you will see a lot of like awkward NoHo Hank in this performance, but he is just fantastic. Almost all of the big laughs for me came from his character or interactions with his character. He's just great. I feel like I can't tell if they underutilized him, like they didn't use him enough, or if everyone else was a bit flatter, so it just felt like he was doing the heavy lifting. I can't tell, but he is one of the good things in this movie. The gore is great. It's over the top. You will see intestines being ripped out. You will see people getting ripped in half. And that's what you want from a movie like this. You want to see beautiful, majestic creatures absolutely tearing shit up. The design of the unicorn I thought was really good. They sort of gave it. It's like a horse. Well, sorry, the grown-up ones are like a horse sort of mixed with a werewolf. They've got these really, truly elaborate horns, which I thought was great. Added to the lore quite a bit. The visuals were good, given it's a $50 million budget. I had no issue with the visuals. I thought they were really good. There is also some great references to like Jurassic Park, Aliens, The Thing, Jaws, but the problem is they reference them too much. Like I'm talking 3 or 4 times each. Like at one bit of the movie, I turned to my friend who I went to see this with and was like, I wonder if they're going to do Raptors in the kitchen. And guess what? They did Raptors in the kitchen. And I'm all for throwing cheeky nods to other franchises. As someone who watches a lot of horror movies, I love picking out little homages to horror movies. I love watching a movie and going, oh, that's this from that, and that's lifted from here. And but there is so much that is just lifted from Aliens and Jurassic Park. In particular, I was sort of just sick of it by the 3rd or 4th time they went back to the... I mean, even at the start, Ridley... Either I don't know if that's a reference to Ridley Scott or Ripley, but like even that's a bit like, okay, I get it. And the second half of this movie just really let it down. This had the vibe of a late 90s, 2000s after school special, sort of like Goosebumps or Animorphs on steroids. And I mean that in a good way. Like that was the fun bit. Like it's intentionally doing that. And I was like, okay, this is really cool. Like, I can get behind the weird vibe and tone that this movie has. But then at every opportunity they had in the plot to fork out, they took the less interesting option, right? Like, if you're going to do Goosebumps or Animorphs or something turned up to 11, do it in a way that either adds to it or subverts our expectations as people who have grown up seeing that stuff. Almost all the choices made here I could see coming a mile away. Another big issue for me was the emotional core of this film is about the father-daughter relationship between Ridley and Elliot, and whether they're gonna, like, you spend the whole time going, are they gonna repair their relationship through this traumatic experience? Is one of them gonna die? You know, that's supposed to be where the emotional tension is coming from. But I found Paul Rudd's character so morally reprehensible that I was rooting for the opposite to happen. Like, I was like, oh, I can't wait for him to be torn apart by unicorns so that Jenna Ortega is free of him. You know what I mean? And obviously that's not what the writers were going for, but it just makes the stakes really, really low when you're rooting for, you know, the main people you're supposed to feel for and root for in this movie. You're like, oh god, I hope one of them dies because you hate them. I just found him extremely unlikable, and they tried to give him this redemption arc, but it fell so flat for me. It's extremely hard to play for struggling single dad sympathy when the single dad is also like the head lawyer at an evil pharmaceutical company. Um, like he's not, like, he's morally bankrupt, but he's got tons of money in the bank, I assume. Like, he's doing more than most double income parents, so he didn't need to do any of this. He was just doing it for the fuck of it. And you know, it's that I struggle with that a lot, because I was like, even if your motivations are what that you're trying to look after and set General Ortega up for life or whatever the fuck it is, like, I'm like, yeah, but you're a piece of shit, and you've probably already done that. And that's saying something, because it's extremely hard for me to root against Paul Rudd. I fucking love Paul Rudd. I was begging for his demise the entire film, and I wanted it to be painful. So I can really only recommend this film if you want a high budget version of something like Piranha Double D or Gremlins. But unfortunately, it only has half the charm and comedy of both those films. So unless you're a die-hard Jenna Ortega fan, or you want to get super high and poke fun with your friends, which this could be a good, like, let's get really high and chuck some popcorn on and just watch it and laugh. That you might get something out of that, but I just think there are much better versions of this film out there. I recommend watching this if you want to see, like, the murderous mares of Diomedes brought to life on screen. Like, I loved The Labours of Heracles. This is the closest thing you're probably going to get to that. If you're a Jenna Ortega or Will Poulter superfan, like I said, Will Poulter absolutely smashes this out of the park. He's fucking fantastic. And he's got a lot of screen time, unlike Anthony Carrigan, who is really good in this but doesn't have a lot of screen time. Will Poulter's all over this movie, and he's really good in it. So if you do like Will Poulter, maybe. I don't recommend watching this if you hate horror comedies. This is straight up silly goose behavior. And if you watch horror to watch horrible people meet horrible ends, there's a bit of it in here. For me, not enough. I don't think. Yeah, I just don't think it was. There are some good kills in this that I was like, that is satisfying, but I don't think all the people that should have been punished did get punished. So yeah, that's a bit tough for that. If you want a solid horror comedy about something harmless that has turned absolutely murderous, I highly recommend the 2006 New Zealand horror comedy film Black Sheep. Kiwis just get horror comedy better than anyone. They've got the strongest horror comedy output, except maybe the US. But if you think about it on like a per capita basis, like, I mean, What We Do in the Shadows, Deathgasm, Housebound, The Frighteners, Come to Daddy, Brain Dead, they've all come out of a country with a population of like 5 million people. Per capita, that is insanity. They are like the horror comedy kings, I feel like. I feel like the US is as well, but they put out like 400 films, and, you know, only a small fraction of them are good. But yeah, I don't know, like, New Zealand just crush horror comedy, and for me, this was no different. Black Sheep is about an ex-sheep farmer who, along with a group of environmentalists, have to defend themselves against a horde of bloodthirsty zombie sheep because of an experiment gone wrong. The slapstick comedy is stellar. The cast are relatively unknown, which works for it. And it sends up monster movies and zombie movies really, really well. Like it gets it. And frankly, I was just amazed at how many sheep-related gags the director could fit into one film. So if you did like Death of a Unicorn, I highly recommend Black Sheep. I think it's a better version of this. Another fitting recommendation, because it's about a mythical figure turning out to be a murderous bastard, is the 2010 Finnish movie Rare Exports. Now, this is a Christmas horror, but you can watch it anytime. Like the horror is good enough that you can watch it outside the Christmas period or save it to Christmas. I don't care. I'm not your dad. You do whatever. But it's just a good movie. It's an absolute hoot. It's about a young kid called Patari who lives in I think Lapland Mountains. Some evil American and British science teams, awesome, begin drilling into one of the mountains, and they find out that it's basically a burial tomb for an ancient evil, and that ancient evil turns out to be fucking Santa Claus, the Santa Claus, and he's pissed. I love this movie so much. I really do. It's actually really nasty. Like there's some decent kills and gore in it, and I think that's probably because it's Scandinavian and they there's a lot of scenes of them setting traps for Santa and him getting out. It's kind of like Predator. Now that I think about it, it's a bit like Predator. But what this movie does really well is it understands what monster movies are about, and it understands what Christmas movies are about, and it matches their style, and then sets it in the absolute fucked up style of a Friday the 13th. I really liked it, so I highly recommend Rare Exports if you like this one. That's it. Hopefully I'll see you next week for another review, and let me know if you see Death of a Unicorn. Let me know what you thought. I think people are either going to fucking love it or fucking hate it. So I'm interested in this one because it's one of the big releases this year. It's one of the big horror releases. Peace.